Hello and welcome to this tutorial about selecting objects and object properties. The objects are the data structures that encapsulate the data and the behavior. This is also known as the member of the objects in PowerShell. In this tutorial, we will see that how can we select the objects and the object properties and how can we manipulate those properties with customized or calculated properties. For instance, I run a command get service name, Windows remote management. These are some of the properties of the object, like the service is stopped, name is WinRM and display name is Windows remote management. In this table, each row is an object and each column is a property, which means right now I have one object and three properties like status, name and display name. When it comes to work with multiple objects, how can I select them? When I run get service command, it returns lots of services. To select particular object, I can use the select object command. Now, if I want to select the first one object or first few objects, then I can define that how many objects I want to select from here. In that way, I also can decide the last few objects, or I can select the objects which are unique by their properties. For an instance, if I go with get process, I see some of the processes have the same value as their name. I want to see only the unique objects with that particular property. I can use select object unique by the name property. Now you will notice that for the SVC host, where earlier it was showing multiple instances of the object, now I see only one instance. So with this unique attribute, I only have 44 service names, whereas the total service names were 128. Well, this was about selecting the objects, but what about the object properties? Object properties are the attributes which are assigned to this data structure or called object, and to know those object properties we need to run the command called getMember. I'll go with get service name, WinRM, and then I will pipe this object into getMember command. The command displays multiple properties of this object. These properties can be of three different categories. One is node property, which is the simple form of the property. Second one is the script property, that is created by a particular script. And the third one is the alias property, that is actually an alias of the original property. Let's say name is the alias property for the service name, and required services is the alias for services depended on. If you look for this kind of object on the internet, then you will not find these two properties for the object. The actual properties are service name and the services depended on. These are just alias properties. So these are three categories of these properties: the node property, script property, and the alias properties of the objects. We also have methods. There will be a different video about methods, working with the PowerShell object methods for change management. So let's use the properties. Suppose I have to choose particular property of the object, then I can use the select object command, and there I can define property parameter and I can decide the property that I want to see. So like this property is service name, I want to see that. The another property I want to see is the status. The next property I want to see is the start type, and I hit enter. So I will be able to see those selected properties this time, and this select object command has an alias called select, and this property is a positional parameter, so can be omitted. And now it looks like SQL query where we define select statement to select the particular columns or particular properties of the objects or columns from the table. And now I hit enter. It works to select the particular properties that I want to use. When you use the select object command to select these object properties, the object data that will be retrieved will be the raw data. Suppose if I do get volume, I get the volume information from this system. The command shows that I have these drives with drive letter, friendly name, their file system, their drive type, health status, operational status, the free space as size remaining, and the total size of the drives in megabytes or gigabytes. Let us select particular property from here. For instance, I want to select the object properties like drive letter. I want to know about the file system type. I want to know about size remaining and the total size of it. Now those four properties have been selected and displayed, but because this time I use select object command, so the object type got this prefix added as selected in the beginning of it. That is why it cannot use the formatting XML files and cannot translate this data into megabytes or gigabytes. It cannot apply that math, and the data comes as the raw data. You will encounter this problem when you use select object command to select the object properties. The data will come as the raw data. Now we need to customize these properties, and to customize these properties, what we can do is either you can do it in the console, or I'm launching ISE to make it a little easier. So here we go. I will use this command get volume, same command, property drive letter I need as it is, file system I need as it is. I want the changes to be done to these two properties. So first of all, let's do it for the size remaining for this property. So for this property, I create a hash table. We create the hash table with @curly braces. Now I will provide name or the label, and this name I want is, let's say, free space instead of size remaining. I want to customize the label of the property. Then semicolon, then expression, and after the expression I will define the actual property that I will access from the placeholder, which is underscore, and then dot to call that property, and that actual property was size remaining. Now if I run this, then I will see the property labeled as free space instead of size remaining, but the data is still the raw data. PowerShell understands the kilobytes, that how many bytes are there in 1 kilobyte, or megabyte, gigabyte, or terabyte, or petabyte. It has these kind of you can say stored procedures which have the data already defined in them, which means that if I have some raw data and I want that data to be converted, suppose I have some numbers and I want to know that how many gig it is, so I can use the mathematical operator to divide this by 1 gig, and it is 3.2 gig. The same thing I can apply here. I can divide the size remaining by 1 gig, and now the output I see is in the gigabytes. Here we see this data is converted into gigabytes. This is coming in multiple decimal points. If I want to round this value, then I can do it in different ways. One of the method that I can use is that I can use the system.math class. So there is a .NET class system.math which has a method. So to call the method of .NET classes, we can use this double colon and then round method. This is the argument block where I'll put that argument, what I want to round, and here we go. After this value, I will provide comma and define the number of decimal points. Suppose 3 decimal points. So the output will be in 3 decimal points this time, as you see over here. And output is actually right aligned. Now let's do the same thing for this another property, which is size. In fact, rather stretching the single line, I can do the indentation. So after each comma, I will hit enter and I will put these properties here. So this is my another property, and now I will work with the size property. For this property, again I will start with @ curly braces. I will start name, or you can use label. I'm just showing you both of the options. I can label the property. What I want to label it, I want to label it as it is, as size, and then semicolon. Then for expression, we can use exp as the truncated version for it, and then I go with this curly braces. In PowerShell 3, we got a new placeholder type, which is PS item. So as a best practice, Microsoft itself recommends that do not use special characters in the name of variables. And here this placeholder is a special character, which is underscore. So PS item was introduced. So if you're writing a script for PowerShell version 1 or 2, then use underscore only. But if you have PowerShell version 3 or later, then you can use PS item as the placeholder to call the objects from the pipeline. So the pipeline object has volumes, and then they have a property called size. So I will put that. I will divide it by gig, 1 gig, and then I will close this braces. And now if I run it, so in fact this is in 1 gig, and I have not done the round operation on it. I see this code also while I execute because I have not saved it. So let's say I save this as volume.ps1, and once I saved this code, then the code will not appear this time, only the output will appear for this ps1. This is not rounded, and I will show you the another way of doing the round operation in PowerShell. So the one I used here was the .NET class, and the round method of that I used. Okay, here I can use another way to round this value, and that is that I'll use the semicolon, curly braces, excuse me, and 0 colon, and I will define number of decimal points. Let's say 3 decimal points. So number 3, I will define those decimal points out there, and then I will use -f, the format string, and this is for formatting purpose. And I'm doing this formatting for 3 decimal points in this case. And this is actually not the curly braces, excuse me. This will be the square bracket. I'll put it inside, and this is going to be a string. So 0 colon n3, number of 3 decimal points. I want formatting, and I want this to be divided into by 1 gig, and number of 3 decimal points have been defined here. Now when I run this code, oh, excuse me, I did something wrong. I think it was the curly braces itself, and 0 colon and 2 and 3, whatever the number of decimal points you want. It is in 3 decimal points. But this time you see the difference in it, and the difference is that here this is left aligned. The output is left aligned. Here in this case it was right aligned. So you can pick any of the method based on your choice, and do let me know in the comment section that which method do you use to round the values in PowerShell if you have to do this. How we create the custom properties or label the properties, existing properties, and do some math on those properties. The next concept is about calculated properties. What are calculated properties? For an instance, I do get volume here, and I do format list and star to show you all the properties in a list view for the particular object. Let's see this object drive letter E. This is the set of properties available for this E drive, and if I look into this, the drive is okay, operational status healthy, fixed, drive type, NEFS file system, deduplicate mode is not available, then allocation unit size, the drive letter and the file system, and other details I can see, size remaining and everything. Do we see a property which shows the free space in percentage, that how much space is free? I can see size remaining, the free space in bytes, and I can see the total size also. I don't have a property to see the size remaining, the free size actually available in percentage. If I do get volume, so there is no such property, and I want to create an additional property. After doing some math, I want to create a calculated property. So if I do this, if I divide the size remaining, let's say this is 19 meg free. If I divide 19 meg with the total size, which is 50 meg, and multiply by 100, then I get the percentage that 38% is free space in this drive. So this will be applicable to rest of them as well. So what I can do is I can create a calculated property here using this math. I will go with the comma to define this another property, at the rate, and then I will label it or name it. Name equals, I want to name it as free space in percentage. Semicolon expression equals curly braces started and stopped. Dollar PS item, the placeholder. The placeholder I will use to access a property which is size remaining. So size remaining, and in that size remaining I will divide it by another property. So I will fetch that property by using the variable. Do not make a mistake by directly typing the property name. So first you need to access the object, and then the dot to access the member of the object, and the member is actually size. So I will go with this size, and then will multiply it by 100. So I did that math by using some mathematical operators here, and I did this operation on the properties, not on the particular values like I did for the example over here. If you use Microsoft Excel, so how do you do the calculation between the two different cells? Okay, you apply that rule on the cells. The function is applied there, not on the values inside them. So as soon as you change the values, the output will be automatically according to that cell. So this operation has been applied on the properties, and now if I run this, I will see that there will be additional property free space, which shows the free space in percent, and it is in multiple decimal points. Now you can use any of the approach to convert that into the decimal points. So here inside this expression, I will use, let's say, this math operator. I want the left aligned data, and I will call the round method, and then we'll define the number of decimal points that I want this. For an instance, I want it in 0 decimal points. I don't need any decimal point. So this time when I run that volume script, so I see that it is having 100% free space, it is having 16% free space. So I can now run this volume dot ps1, and I can do format table, format table to see the output. And here I see that these are the drive letters, the file system types, free space, size, and the free space in percent in each drive. So this is completely a new property that has been created for the object out of doing the math on existing properties of the objects. So this is how you can create the calculated properties using select object command. So this was select object command to select the objects and the object properties. I hope this session was informative. If you have any questions, please do let me know in the comment section, and please don't forget to subscribe the channel for further videos. Thank you.